this Christmas, no children, my mother-in-law, Marin, announced with that smug expression I couldn't stand, adjusting her expensive glasses. I'm hosting my charity circle friends, and we're aiming for a refined evening. I'm sure you understand. I stood in her flawless kitchen, the same place where my kids had baked cookies with her the previous Christmas, watching her arrange appetizers as though everything around me hadn't just fallen apart. My 7-year-old, Emma, and 5-year-old, Lucas, had been crafting ornaments for weeks, eagerly anticipating the chance to show their grandmother what they'd made. But Marin, I began, keeping my tone even, the kids have been looking forward to this. They even made something special for you. She waved her perfectly manicured hand dismissively. Olivia, darling, you know how children get. They'll become too excited and make a mess, and my friends from the Heritage Society are quite particular. Besides, wouldn't you and James appreciate an adult evening for once? The condescending tone in her voice made my skin crawl. My husband, James, was conveniently away on a business trip, missing this conversation entirely, raised by Marin, who prized appearances above all else. Sometimes I could still see her influence in him, although he had grown warmer over the years. There were still moments when I saw traces of her in his reactions. The kids will be crushed, I said quietly. Marin sighed in that exaggerated way that made everything feel like a drama. They'll get over it. Kids bounce back. Now, as for the dress code, I'm thinking black tie. Do you still have that blue dress from Sarah's wedding? The one that barely fits? A flush of heat crept to my cheeks, but I kept my expression neutral. Marin had always found ways to take jabs at both my appearance and my parenting, but excluding my children from Christmas? That was crossing a line I couldn't let slide. Later, I sat on Emma's bed, trying to explain why we wouldn't be spending Christmas at Grandma's. Emma's lip quivered as she held the ornament she had made, a photo frame decorated with love, showing her and Lucas with their grandmother. But Mommy, I made this for Grandma Marin, she said, her voice small. She wanted more pictures of us for her big house. Lucas, overhearing from his room, came running in, dragging his favorite dinosaur blanket. Did we do something wrong? He asked, his eyes wide with confusion. No, sweetie, I said, pulling them both into my arms. Grandma's just having a grown-up party this year. But it's Christmas, Lucas whispered, snuggling into my shoulder. After they were asleep that night, I made a few calls. First, I spoke with Anna, my best friend who ran the local community center. Then, I called my sister, Katie, and finally, Pastor Mike from our church. By the time I hung up, a plan had started to take shape. The next day, Marin called me. Olivia, darling, don't forget to arrive by 6 o'clock tomorrow. And please, do something with your hair. Elizabeth from the Heritage Society is bringing a photographer to document the evening. Of course, Marin, wouldn't want to embarrass you in front of your distinguished guests. That's the spirit, she replied, completely missing the sarcasm. Oh, and James called, his flight's delayed, but he should be back just in time for the party. I smiled to myself. James knew exactly when his flight was landing, and it wasn't when his mother thought. We'd had a long talk about her behavior, and he was completely on my side. For the first time in our marriage, I packed Emma and Lucas's handmade ornaments that Christmas Eve morning, including the photo frame Emma had spent hours decorating. Where are we going, Mommy? She asked. Somewhere special, sweetheart, somewhere where they'll be appreciated. As I loaded the kids into our car, I noticed Marin's house across the street. Caterers were already arriving, setting up for her soiree. She was standing in the driveway, directing them with her signature dramatic flair, every inch the society matron she aspired to be. She saw us getting in the car and waved, no doubt congratulating herself on how well her plan had worked. I waved back, smiling brightly. Ready for a real Christmas celebration? I asked my children, who nodded eagerly, already forgetting their earlier disappointment. Marin had no idea what she was about to miss, and more importantly, she had no idea what her cherished Heritage Society friends were about to learn about their perfect hostess, who'd banned her grandchildren from Christmas. When I arrived at Marin's party, it was in full swing. The valet took my car as I smoothed down my dress, not the blue one she had suggested, but a bold red one that made me feel powerful and confident. The entrance of her grand Victorian house was decorated with what she called sophisticated Christmas decor, all white and silver, with no trace of childhood joy or festive warmth, perfect for someone who had kicked kids out of Christmas. Olivia, darling, Marin swooped in, kissing both my cheeks. You look festive, she said, eyeing my red dress with a hint of distaste. Come, let me introduce you to everyone. She paraded me around like a trophy, introducing me to her Heritage Society friends. "This is my daughter-in-law," she would say, as if that was the only thing I was. Elizabeth, the president of the society, stood near the fireplace, her silver hair impeccably styled. "Marin has told us so much about your family," Elizabeth said warmly. "Where are your children tonight? I'd love to meet my dear friend's grandchildren." I felt Marin stiffen next to me. Before she could respond, I smiled brightly. "Oh, they're at the community center's Christmas celebration. They're part of something very special." "The community center?" Elizabeth's eyes lit up. "The one on Maple Street? I'm on their board." I didn't realize Marion's grandchildren were involved there. Marin's smile faltered for the first time. "Oh, well, children are always involved in something or another. Olivia, dear, I believe James is looking for you." But Elizabeth wasn't done. "I received the most heartwarming invitation from them. They're doing a special Christmas program for kids who might otherwise miss out on holiday celebrations. I was planning to stop by later." "How wonderful," I replied, enjoying the way Marin's face turned slightly pale. "You should definitely go. It's going to be very meaningful." Other guests began to chime in, and I knew then that the truth was already starting to spread. "Oh, yes, I received that invitation too. Pastor Mike mentioned casually at last week's charity meeting. Didn't they say something about a special presentation by local children?" Marin, visibly uncomfortable, quickly tried to change the subject. "The caterer has prepared the most exquisite truffle-infused Marin." Elizabeth cut in. "How wonderful that your grandchildren are involved in something so meaningful, especially at their young age." Before Marin could respond, James arrived, on time, just as planned, not running late as his mother had claimed. He kissed my cheek and greeted Marin, whose relief at his arrival turned to confusion when he announced, "Mother, I think it's time we head to the community center. We wouldn't want to miss the children's presentation." But the party," Marin sputtered. "Your father's special wassail bowl tradition." Elizabeth interrupted. "I believe we'd all love to see what the children at the community center have prepared. After all, it's Christmas Eve, the perfect time to support local kids." Marin stood there helplessly as her guests began gathering their coats, discussing carpooling to the community center with excitement. "What have you done?" she hissed when no one was looking. "I've done exactly what you asked, Marin," I replied coolly. "I kept the kids away from your sophisticated party, but I never promised to shield your decision from your friends." At the community center, warmth and Christmas spirit filled the air. The smell of hot chocolate and cookies drifted through the room, and colorful decorations adorned the walls. Emma and Lucas stood at the front, ready for their presentation. They beamed when they saw us but stayed focused, just as they'd practiced. Marin's friends filed in, exclaiming over the decorations and festive atmosphere. Pastor Mike welcomed everyone and acknowledged the presence of Heritage Society members. Then the children began their presentation. Each child spoke about Christmas and shared something they made. When Emma's turn came, she held up her photo frame ornament. "This is for my grandma," she said into the microphone. "It's a picture of me and my brother with her from last Christmas when we baked cookies together. But this year, she said children aren't allowed at her Christmas party because we're not sophisticated enough." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Marin, whose face turned from pale to crimson. Lucas followed, clutching his dinosaur blanket. "I drew this picture of our family," he said quietly, "but I had to draw Grandma far away because she doesn't want us around for Christmas anymore." Marin stepped forward, but James touched her arm gently. "Let them finish, Mother," he said softly. As other children shared similar stories of exclusion, it became clear, this wasn't just about Christmas, it was about every child made to feel less than worthy. Pastor Mike addressed the crowd. "This celebration exists to remind every child that they are loved, valued, and worthy of Christmas joy, no matter their age or sophistication." Elizabeth stepped forward, wiping away tears. "Marin," she said, "I had no idea you'd excluded your grandchildren from Christmas. This goes against everything the Heritage Society stands for. We support families, not social climbing at their expense." Marin tried to explain, but her voice faltered. "I just wanted an elegant evening." Elizabeth shook her head. "These children are elegant in their own way. They're the true spirit of Christmas." James finally spoke up. "Did Olivia make you ban our children from Christmas, Mother? Did she force you to choose your social status over family?" Marin's attempts to defend herself only made things worse. "Olivia twisted everything. I only wanted a sophisticated event. You've spent years undermining Olivia and criticizing our parenting, but excluding our children from Christmas? That's unforgivable." The community center quickly became a joyous celebration. Emma and Lucas were surrounded by love and admiration. Their handmade ornaments were proudly displayed on the tree, the warmth and spirit of the holiday shining brightly. In stark contrast, Marin's sterile, adults-only party was now an afterthought. Elizabeth told Marin, "The Heritage Society board will have to discuss your position. We stand for family, not empty social status." Marin's social standing, built on superficial connections, crumbled before her eyes. Her prestigious evening was abandoned, her reputation shattered, all because she couldn't see what Christmas was really about. Later, Emma approached Marin, holding out her photo frame ornament. "You can still have this, Grandma Marin. Everyone deserves a Christmas present, even if they made a mistake." Marin took the ornament with trembling hands, staring at it, at the photo, the love and effort that went into it. "I've been horrible, haven't I?" she whispered, tears spilling from her eyes. "Yes," I said softly, "but it's Christmas, and like Emma said, everyone deserves a chance to make things right." That Christmas Eve, Marin found herself at the community center, surrounded by children and their handmade creations. It wasn't the sophisticated evening she'd planned, but it was genuine and filled with real joy. The following year, Marin's Christmas party was different. The house rang with children's laughter, handmade decorations adorned every corner, and Emma and Lucas helped bake cookies for everyone. The Heritage Society members brought their own grandchildren, and no one cared about being sophisticated anymore. Sometimes, you have to lose everything you thought you wanted to realize what you truly need. Marin learned this lesson, and the family Christmas photo from that year showed her on the floor, playing with Lucas and his dinosaurs, her hair mussed, her designer clothes slightly wrinkled, but her smile more genuine than I'd ever seen. The community center Christmas celebration became a cherished tradition, reminding everyone that the true sophistication of Christmas lies in bringing families together, not tearing them apart. For me, I learned that sometimes the best response to cruelty isn't anger or revenge, it's simply allowing the truth to shine. Marin's actions revealed her true nature, but her redemption came when she finally saw herself through her grandchildren's eyes. Emma still has that photo of Christmas Eve at the community center, with Marin hanging an ornament on the tree, both covered in glitter, smiling together. It's not sophisticated, but it's real, and that's what Christmas should always be about. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.